The number one trend is still a huge disconnect between leadership and staff. So 149% reported feeling like leadership is incredibly misaligned from staff.
149%.
149%. This article
So does that mean
mentions
that the leadership also said that they agree? You're listening to Mondays Unfiltered, the podcast for anyone who's accepted that work is inevitably work. We're your hosts, Heather and Kristin. We break down burnout, baffling policies, and corporate chaos with dry humor and real solutions. Grab your coffee and whatever optimism survived the weekend, Mondays have begun. A little about us. Chris spent decades helping executives shape brands and craft messages that inspire, and I built systems that actually made those visions work behind the scenes and kept people from falling apart in the process. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Heather, happy Monday. It's been a
I
while.
know, it's been a couple of weeks. I've missed you. I love my Mondays now.
I know, I love them. Even though I had kind of a tiring weekend, I was
Mm.
traveling, got home late last night. I always look forward to this. And um, I had a little bit of nervousness initially, but I'm like, we're just talking about shit we talk about. So what's the pressure? We're not doing speeches here.
No, I know. I like it because we're not we're not being pre-scripted. We're not writing scripts and memorizing stuff. And that's what I like about it is that there's no pressure in, is it right or wrong? It just is. And that's what I
Right.
love about our connection.
Well, and we're also dealing with trends.
Hmm.
And we're constantly on the lookout for either what other people are saying or what trends are. And we've got some really good, juicy topics to discuss. Everybody knows what Glassdoor is. You can go in there, put reviews. Some people are still nervous, even though it can be anonymous to put anything on there. And typically, a lot of people put reviews on there after they've been separated from their company. So,
Oh, good way to put
and
it.
so we have a couple of a good, actually, there's 6 or 7 good subjects this Glassdoor survey
Mhm.
talked about, and we're going to talk about one subject in each session because there's enough to talk about with each trend. So the first trend, let me tell you all, this is flippin' amazing. Heather and I talk about this subject all the time. It's the thread throughout everything, and it's leadership fails.
Mhm.
Now, we also try to be fair and say, okay, leadership wins. How can we improve things? We don't want to bust on everybody all the time. Um, but I have to talk about this statistic, y'all, because it's going to knock your socks off. And it's really relevant to the conversations that we've had. So there are several statistics in this first trend. So let me tell you what the first statistic is. You ready for this?
Bring it.
So in the number one trend is still a huge disconnect between leadership and staff. So 149% reported feeling like leadership is incredibly misaligned from staff.
149%.
149%. This article
So does that mean
mentions
that the leadership also said that they agree? Like you had to go beyond the employees, 49% beyond the employees. So all the employees, 100% said yes. And then another 49% was that the leaders?
I don't know. It's just to be honest, I didn't see who it's typically the employees.
Yeah.
They're polling on Glassdoor, and I'll put the article in the resources. Um, but let me kind of give a semi quote from this. It
Yeah.
says ratings of senior leadership hovering well below their pandemic peak. So that's one thing. People thought, hey, we're past the pandemic, way past, 5 or 6 years, things should be back realigning. Um, but workers are losing faith in their leaders. Words that highlight this disconnection are up in Glassdoor reviews. 24% for disconnect, 25% for miscommunication, 26% for distrust, and then 149% for misalignment.
Okay, so it's 149% more than it was in COVID, is what.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
So that trend increased 149%. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised by any of it. It is a shocking statistic, like the extent of it, but those are things that we talk about all the time, and they've been prevalent for decades, and I just don't understand why we cannot improve as leaders in how we are portraying ourselves, because this includes general leadership. So leadership as a whole. And I know so many people now, and myself included, that if I were to go back into that environment and they would say, do you want to be an advisor or do you want to be a manager or a VP? I'd be like, nope.
Well, a lot of people, I have a couple of friends that are pretty high up in their respective, and one that's a client that's about to get promoted again. Both of these people have said this is as far as they want to go. They don't want the responsibility. Part of it is they don't want the extra travel that comes along with it. But it's really interesting that you just mentioned this because it really is a leadership coaching thing. And again, when Heather and I talk about leaders, y'all, you can be a leader in and of your own right, and you don't have to necessarily have a CEO or a C in
Right.
front of your title, right? So you can be a leader of your own team. You can be a team leader and not necessarily have the title. So
Right.
at any rate, what I wanted to say, um, it just so happened because I spent probably about 7 hours on a plane within, 48 hours over the weekend. Um, I read a lot of caught up on my reading and I read some stuff in Harvard Business Review. I was reading some other leadership books. And it was funny because, we're going to talk about this today. Few of the resources I was reading was saying the biggest thing that needs correcting in any kind of situation or leadership is listening.
Interesting. That was our first episode. The first thing that we recorded after we introduced ourselves was it's imperative to listen. And it's not just be like, yeah, 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 I heard you. It's like, what are the people saying?
And I was reading the Jack Canfield book, The Success Principles, because the coaching
Hmm.
group that we are with does coaches out of this book once a month. And he was saying he was coaching a leader, or one of his colleagues was coaching a leader, and they observed. Well, the leader came to them and said, I'm not having productive meetings.
Hmm.
And the coach said, why? And I don't know whether I think he observed a meeting. He goes, basically, the leadership, the leader sat there with his staff, his direct reports, and spewed out all the things that he noticed was wrong.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun meeting to sit in.
And all of the things on his agenda. And the one thing he told him to do is say, you can't do
Less.
that anymore.
Say
Oh
less.
no, you say less. He goes, open it up. Here's some key topics we need to talk about. I
Mhm.
want to hear from you what your challenges are and how I can help
Yeah.
remove those challenges.
That was like that one we talked about a couple weeks ago when we recorded. It was um uh the guy had the CEO had hired a coach for himself, and the guy sat in the back of the room and observed the meeting, and he talked the whole time, and at the end he was like, tell me your thoughts, and no one said anything. And he was like, okay, the next meeting you come into, your whole agenda is to inform them of the topic and then shut up and let them talk. And that the CEO was shocked because he said, my team doesn't participate. And when he gave them an opportunity to communicate, they participated.
Well, in this particular example in the Jack Canfield book, it was, I think it was a C-suite executive, and he was like, "Oh my God, that was the best meeting we've ever
Yeah.
had." It's because you're not doing all the talking,
Right.
and you're elevating, you're allowing your team,
Yeah.
plus you're setting a really, really good example for that staff to then set that example for their staff.
Right. Emulate.
Right. And one of the articles, it was a short article in Harvard Business Review that I was reading, kind of adjacent or related to this subject. It was tips on how to deal with employees that consistently went off book, like that did not follow company policy.
Mm.
And I don't want to stay in on that particular subject, but there were four different buckets. It's either, they did it for the client, they just don't give a damn
Mhm.
and think you're stupid and are going to do it their way. There's some that forgetting, and then one of them was processes haven't been communicated properly, and or they're stupid. They don't make sense. And well, that's my word.
Stupid.
Harvard Business Review did not use the word
No,
stupid.
no, but I
Um,
agree. You have to reevaluate on occasion because something that could be put in place originally, your company evolves over time, doesn't make sense anymore. Let's evaluate regularly. We say those things to our clients. You should contact us so that we can review your stuff and make sure it's the best use. But then you forget about the internal management as well.
well, here's what they coached in the article. Just what we're saying is
Yeah,
listen.
yeah.
So they said, instead of saying you did this wrong,
Mm-hmm. Say
they
why.
said, why did you do that? And what
Hmm.
was the scenario?
Right.
And then either you needed to correct the situation or correct the understanding, or you thank them for
Yeah, brainstorm.
bring up a flaw. And,
Right.
Heather and I advocate for that all the time, you guys, is that advocate for yourself, but always like if you've got to make some corrections or you've got an error or something to your management, try to come with real solid examples and potential
Potential.
solutions.
Yeah, potential solutions.
Um, so it was interesting. So the whole thing, what if you can just take a magic fairy wand, tap it on a leader that's having trouble or a company that's having trouble, and the magic word is listening.
Mm. Yeah, and that goes for misalignment as well, that huge stat that we started with. There's misalignment, and often it's because it's not communicated at the top. There's like this underlying expectation that people just get it. Like these are our metrics, but we don't know why we're going to get there or how we're going to get there. And so the misalignment comes from the lack of communication. The lack of communication comes from distrust. And so it all is connected.
Well, I work with a lot of silo organizations, and are they aligned in what their metrics are? Are
Hmm.
they aligned with what the goals are? Because oftentimes they aren't. That's really the crux of it.
Right.
That, if you can't get people to work together and they're, off doing their own thing, that's why. So it's a really good point. Anyway, so that I think that's a really good, interesting stat that even though, we're way past COVID and people are getting used to the work from home, um, we're back somewhat business as usual, that 149%
Yeah. But that makes me
reported
think also, like, do we want to go back to business as usual? Like, do we want to go back to how it was before? Let's set a
no.
new precedent for, these are things that we need to correct as we continue.
Well, I mean, a lot of it, I think, still is one of my favorite causations for lack of listening, or aside from being ADD, because I mean, and that's all in good fun and not meant badly. I think a lot of people think, hey, I don't need to listen to people. I'm the boss, or I don't care, or I don't have enough time.
I think that's a huge thing. I don't have time.
Yeah.
But that also goes in line. There's an adage about your health that you can have 100 problems until you have a health problem, then you have one problem, and that translates into business as well. Like you can
Mm.
have all the problems, but when you have a client turnover problem or when you have an employee retention problem, those are the things that you need to pay attention to. What is the cause? Do like go back into project management 101, the fishbone diagram and like the root cause analysis and identify where these things originate and make improvements. Don't just accept status quo because that's how it always is. Like the worst comment that I received one day, I had a poor conversation with a leader, and I went to the head of our office and I said, "This is a situation that I just experienced and this is unacceptable behavior and blah blah blah." And I gave the scenario of what took place, and the response was, "That's how he is." And I said, "That's not okay."
No, I mean, why should people adjust to bad behavior? Now, granted, there are people that are more direct communicators. There are people that they have different styles, and you kind of have to make some, but bad behavior and rude behavior and bullying, that's a whole separate question. I'm assuming that's kind of along the line, or they, whatever, were disrespectful. That's
Yeah.
not appropriate
Right.
ever.
Right.
So I think that's beautiful. I had a whole listening class when I did my undergrad, and when you're younger like that, it's like, why are we taking this class
Mm,
in organizational effectiveness? Well, lo and behold, that's one of the most effective tools is listening. So
yeah.
anyway,
Even my,
so
yeah, I was gonna
go
say
ahead.
my younger nephew, I was advising him on um how to manage yourself in a work environment because he was having some troubles. And I was like, when, you're working with leadership, this is how you should be supporting yourself so that you put yourself in the best light and blah, blah. And basically, I was teaching him how to compensate for other people's behaviors. And he was like, this is stupid. I'm like, he was like you said, this is stupid. I was like, you know what, dude, you're right. I totally agree. But like this is how people play in this space. But and it's about teaching people the right skills and when enough is enough and how to set your threshold. That's something we've been covering a lot in my coaching programs is the threshold is where you set your boundaries and what's acceptable and positioning yourself to not be taken advantage of.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and communicating it clearly, and I think there was an example of something like that. I don't know, one of those spiritual books, because I have that bent to my coaching programs. It might have been Eckhart Tolle, who I love, and he was talking about, how do you handle um, people that are having a moment or having big feelings or whatever it is they're having. Those are my words. I'm not quoting him, but he's like, you just stay present. He's like, just stare at them and go on about your business. Just leave them. It's not usually not personal unless you. And I always had especially when I was younger, I thought it was personal.
Yeah, me too.
But they are having big moments. And anyway, so yeah, so listen,
Yeah.
149%. So there's a lot of room for improvement. And who would have thought something so simple might be able to completely turn around your culture?
Hmm.
It might help you run your business better, might help you listen to your clients better, because usually your frontline workers have a better, you know, handle on what your clients are feeling or experiencing. And don't be an asshole.
Yeah. One
Just
of the
listen.
things that I've heard several times, but it's come up a few times recently, is using the phrase "tell me more," and that
Yes.
allows people space.
Yeah. That's a great phrase. One is open-ended questions like, how are you feeling things? I mean, how you think things are going? Do you have any stuck points?
Yeah.
And then if
If
they
I
get
could
stuck,
improve one thing in your day, one function, if we could change one function of your role, what is it? What is it? What does it look like? And that's just one place to start.
yeah,
You don't have to turn over the whole company in order to move the needle. You have to address
yeah,
one thing and you'll start on your path.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We had a that company was semi consulting for. They were trying to build a new solution, and leadership was just not listen
Mhm.
to one of the critical things that the product needed to be able to do to be able to sign more customers up. They, it was a critical function, and they didn't listen to us.
Yeah.
They
And
ended
when
up
your clients
sunsetting
are
the
leaving,
project.
that's one thing. And when your employees are leaving, that's a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah,
So, like, what can you do to improve on the inside that will improve your bottom line on the outside?
exactly. Cool. So, anyways, do you want to hear the quote that I picked today?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. No effing shit. I don't care about this company. What you think? What you think? When I was a kid, I dreamed of running an effing chemical company. No, I dreamed to be on the beach with a model serving me tropical drinks.
So at first I thought you were quoting me until you said chemical company. But I don't know what movie is it?
Horrible bosses.
Oh, that is a favorite of mine. I'll watch that thing 100 times.
I have never seen it, so now I have to see it.
Yeah,
So the character that said it
it's the
was
son.
Bobby Pellet,
It's
played by
Bobby
Colin
Pellet.
Farrell.
Oh my
So
gosh.
he didn't,
He does such a good job.
does he?
Oh my God.
I have
He
to
has this
watch this
he has this horrible comb over. Oh my gosh. So funny. And he does coke.
now.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, funny, 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 funny. Cool. So listen.
With both ears.
Yeah,
Don't what's the saying? Two ears and one mouth.
yeah. This morning, like out of the book, it was listen, the Canfield book. I think it was listen 100 times, ponder 1,000, speak once.
Ooh, a good one.
Yeah.
And on that note,
On that note,
right up.
like, subscribe,
Yeah.
please comment. We get starting to get some good comments. We read them
Send us
and reach it.
any ideas at mondaysunfiltered@gmail.com. And until
Yep.
next time,
Stay unfiltered. That's it for this episode of Mondays Unfiltered. If something today made you laugh, think, cringe, or finally question the workplace norms you've been conditioned to accept, good. That's where change begins. If you enjoyed the conversation, hit subscribe, share the episode with someone who deserves a better Monday, and help us push the movement towards healthier, more human workplaces. And we want to hear your stories, the surprises, the successes, the dysfunction, the burnout, the breakthroughs. Just send them our way. Your experience might shape a future episode. And remember, we can do better, we can be better, and we don't have to tolerate BS just because it feels familiar. Until next week, stay curious, stay courageous, and stay unfiltered.